He put an air number. Yeah. No?
Yeah, very sports. All right. Yeah. Morning, everybody. Today is Daf Vav.
Oh, good, I can follow.
And the sentence from Basra. So yesterday we left off with the question. The question yesterday was like this: there is a chazaka that a person does not pay early. There's a chazaka that way. All right, person does not pay a loan early. So if the loan was due January 1st, there's a chazaka he doesn't pay in December. He has to bring proof he brought in December. There's also a person's neman to say I paid on time.
You're better if you
So
pay
the
on.
question is, if somebody claims money mid-January, says you didn't pay back the loan that was due January 1st, so there's a chazaka that it wouldn't pay early, but a person's neman to say it on time. But let's say the person says, I paid it December 15th. I paid it early. So do we say, I could have just said I paid on January 1st and I'd be believed. So believe me when I say I paid December 15th. Or do we say there's a chazaka, people don't pay early, and unless you bring proof, you said you brought it early, you didn't pay. So unless you bring proof, you still have to go ahead and pay. That was the question. So now let's try and learn out a couple of cases for the Mishnah. Let's see if those pan out. So Toshma, come listen. Our Mishnah says with a wall. So so if it's the wall, in order to fall down, they have to go ahead and rebuild it, and the wall is up there. So the chazak is the wall is up. It must be that both sides paid, and one guy says, "Hey, he didn't pay for it." So there's a chazaka that he paid. Until the other guy brings a proof that indeed the guy didn't pay, but there's a chazaka that he paid. So hey, chidami, if we're talking about he's claiming the money months later from his money. He said I paid it on time when it was due. So pshita, it's obvious that he's believed. Maybe he said like this. He says where he claimed that he claims after the achar's man. He's saying. And the guy answers, yeah, I paid you for the fence, and I paid you up front, I paid you early. Alma, I think about chazaka, shakir. So you say, even in a place with a chazaka that a person doesn't go ahead and pay early, nevertheless, he is neman, because he could have just said I paid on time instead of paid early. So the says, no. Each time the money was due on each row. So therefore, it wasn't considered to be early. Rather, it was considered to be bismano, and therefore, that's the reason why he's neman, unless there's proof against it. So therefore, that part of the Mishnah is not a proof. So let's see the next part of the Mishnah. So Tashma, so if you go ahead and you build it from Dalet Amos, you don't have to build it above Dalet Amos, because above Dalet Amos, there is no hezek riyah. So the guy wants a 20-foot, 10 amos, right? He wants a 10 amos wall. So up till 4, they both have to do it, and from 4 to 10, the guy's on his own. So Tashma, come listen, so you can't obligate him to go ahead and pay it. However, so let's say, I'm next to neighbors with Yigal, and he builds up the fence to 10 feet, and let's say I say, it's pretty geschmack. Or 10 amos, we'll go, because 10 amos, if above from the 4 amos to 10 amos, I say, it's sort of geschmack. I'll go ahead, I'll build a wall, and I'll put some sort of, shade above it. So also I build a wall. Once I build a wall, whatever we say, then, whatever he is paid to pay. And but there's a chazaka that I did not pay for the wall between 4 to 10 amos. Until I go ahead and bring proof that I indeed did pay. There's a chazaka I didn't have to pay. So, hey, Kidami, what was the scenario there? If it, in other words, the Yigals paid the money and I said I paid this money, am I low? Why should I not be believed if I say I paid on time? Rather, it must be the case where I said I paid it early, and nevertheless it says over there, I'm not neman, I have to bring proof that I paid Yigal for the other half. So, we see that there is no migon, I'm not believed there. So Gemara says, no, over there, the reason is because who said by me building the wall next to it, maybe the Rabbanim weren't going to be Mechayiv. And therefore, since they're Mechayiv, maybe they don't have to go ahead and pay it. Yigal built it himself. So therefore, I'm only going to go ahead and pay for the extra height only when base is Mechayiv. So therefore, even if I say I paid it right on time, whatever it was, there's Chazaka No, the chazaka or the nemanis is thrown out because I would only have to pay if I was obligated by the rabbanon, and therefore the guy didn't pay. That's the reason why he's not believed.
Oh, wait. You paid also for the up to 4.
I paid up until 4. I paid up until 4 hours. Yeah, for sure, because that I'm obligated to Ikar Din. The other part, I'm not obligated to Ikar Din. But since I later on proved that I benefit from it, i.e., I put the lines to it, then the rabbanon could be machai of me to go ahead and pay Yigal for half the expenses from the wall from 4 to 10. So therefore, but I'm not going to go ahead and jump the gun and pay that early unless Basin says you got to go ahead and pay yo.
Right, the first 400 they're sharing it.
They share because it has agreed. Right, because it's both yards next to each other. Right.
Because he used it for the sukkah or whatever.
Right.
He's obligated.
Exactly. Now, so Tashma, come listen. The guy says you owe me $100, right? I tell Mayor you owe me $100, and Amar Lo, and Mayor says yeah, I owe you. And Mayor said it to me in front of the Allen and Allen duo, even though Allen's not here. I had 2 Adam, not related, by the way. So I'm like, hey, yeah. Lamacha, the next day on July 2nd, I go to Mayor. I said, Amar Li. So I say to him, to Newly, I told Mayor, pay me the money. So if Mayor says on July 2nd, I paid you, then he's putter. Why? Because he paid yesterday. You admitted you owed me money, and Lachar you paid this mano, which would be yesterday. So, however, but Mayor responds, he says, I don't owe you anything. Then he's chayiv. So my love, what was the case over there when it says I gave it to you? Right. So it says when he says I paid, in other words, when I paid you, that means and he's neman, that's when he said I paid you on time. And when he says in the Chabayodai, that means Damarle Parsik Abasak's money. And now we're Machayim when he says I paid you early. If Tani Chayiv and it says he's Chayiv. Alma Muslim Chazaka Loim Ridimali Shakir. And they're over here, so it's a proof that if Mayor says I paid you early, then he's not believing he has to pay me. So we see that if he would have just said, so therefore he doesn't have no migo. The guy says, low, that's not a good, you can't learn from there. So my in the Chabiyadi, what does it mean when Mayor said to me tomorrow, July 2nd, that he doesn't owe me money? He says, Lo Yad. He says, I never borrowed money from you in the first place. Now, the issue is that he admitted the day before, on July 1st, in front of Alan and Alan, that you did owe me money. Whoever says I never borrowed money is an admission that I never went and paid you back. And therefore, he would be chayav to go ahead and pay this loan, as long as the loan is proved, which it was because he said in front of witnesses. Fine. Next case, we said something like so Yigal goes ahead and he builds a wall up to 10 amos, and I go ahead and I put a wall next to it for my yard. Then I have to go ahead and pay for the full amount, pay my half of the full amount. And Amar, what about this case? Samach lapalga, samach lakula. So let's say I go ahead and I build a 6 amos wall. Okay, so 4 amos is already required, and I built an extra 2 amos, right? In other words, so
is it the first one or the parallel to it one?
What was it?
The main.
No, the main wall was 10 amos. Yigal went ahead and built it. He's a master builder. Yigal likes construction. He got his guy there. He's a Romanian guy. Whatever he had, built it. Right? See, he went ahead and he built it. Now, Polish, whatever it is. Fine. Now, I'm his next door neighbor, and I built a wall next to it. Yigal built it 10 amos, parallel. But my wall is only 6 amos. So I'm not going to use. Maybe I'm going to only use into the wall, but I'm only going to use up to 6 amos. Okay, but the other 10 amos is higher. So in other words, I used 2 amos of Yigal's extra, and there's still other 4 left. Okay, so since I have benefit of that wall, I got to pay for all 6 amos extra that he built. From Nachman Amar, whatever I use, the 2 amos extra, I got to go pay 50-50 on that 2 amos, but the other 4 amos above that, I'm potter. And Rav Huna would agree that you only pay for the partial amount. Let's say I set up in a corner, right? It was the corner of there. And in other words, it's apparent that I'm not going to be using the rest of the wall. So therefore, then he agrees that I only pay for 50-50 on that part of the wall.
Correct, but if it's falling,
Well, if it's falling, it's something else. Right. Yeah, right.
No.
But let's say I go ahead and build a 6 amos wall, but I put a beam on it to show that I'm putting a firm structure there that's ultimately probably going to be up higher to use the entire wall. So therefore, I'll be mechayiv to go ahead and pay for the full 50% of the wall. And Amar Avuna let's say Yigal goes ahead and he puts in windows in the wall. He puts in windows for the wall. Oftentimes, a person uses the windows, the openings in the wall for you to put beams. So let's say Yigal put beams basically for my benefit. So l'chayra, right? Why is Yigal doing it? He must be he's doing it for me, right? So why did he do it for me? I must be I already paid for it. All right. So he says, it's not a chazaka that I paid. Even make casings. Because Yigal is going to say, ultimately, down the road in 2 years, you're going to want to use this wall. You're going to want to pay me then, and then I don't want to have to ruin the wall. So therefore, I'll build in now openings for you to put your beams later on when you change your mind. So therefore, up until there's proof I paid, maybe I never paid for it, and Yigal just did it with the vision that ultimately the neighbor will do it, and he doesn't want to ruin his wall at that point. And a person goes ahead and he gives someone the right to go ahead and use small little beams on his wall. So Yigal's wall, and he gave permission to go ahead and use small little, 2x4s, 2x4s across. He didn't give me permission to go ahead and put heavier beams. But if you put me heavier beams on his wall, then certainly I can go ahead and use the smaller 2x4s. He says once you go ahead and give permission to use it, then you can use it even for something heavier.
I'm going to use all this for my neighbor. You're right. It's perfect.
Perfect timing. He says no. Even in this case, when the machzik, when he gives permission for the lighter ones, the 2x4s, certainly you can go ahead and give permission for the beams and the kshure, and if the beams are actually ladurians, and also in that case, certainly the lighter 2x4s and amarav nachan asik l'tafi asik l'shvichik. So let's say I allow my neighbor to go ahead and have his roof drip all over my yard, right? It's coming down, spring all over. Then, since that's the entire yard, there's a chazaka. If I allow you to go ahead and drip your rainwater all over my yard, there's a chazaka. I allow you to go ahead and make like a little gutter, which is only one spot. So however, one gutter. But then, if it's only permission for one spot, like a gutter area, but I did not give you permission for it to completely just run off my entire yard. Once I give you permission for a gutter, then I can give you permission even for it to go ahead and rainwater drip all over. Person goes ahead and he gives permission for it to go ahead and a gutter, then then he gives permission basically to his chazaki, he's allowed to go ahead and use it, have all his rainwater drip on it, and tafi and also certainly if there's rainwater all over, then there's a chazaka, he's allowed to go ahead and build a gutter there. But if it's, however, if it goes through the heavier branches and stuff, so then it's a more powerful flow, which makes that area where the gutter is flowing not usable. Therefore, there's no chazaki to use that. Even in a case of where, in other words, there was from the shed. I feel it's really Darabuni Ava. No, he's allowed to go ahead and do it. And Av Rav Yosef Uvda, but Tzrifi Darabuni and Rav Yosef had a ma'aseh with a tzrif for this little shed that had a gutter system coming off, and he permitted that to be used. And Amarav Nachman Amarav Hua Hamatzkir by Chaver, a new case. One who goes there and he has, let's say, a multi-unit building, almost like a bed and breakfast. Right? Turn the page. So he rents it out to his friend. Bira Gedela in a large bira, so it's like a big like bread and breakfast. Thank you.
Breakfast.
Mansion.
Right. A larger place, but it was like subdivided. So Mishtamesh Zizav Kotela Ad Dalaram. Right, it's the area that I'm renting my space. I'm allowed to go ahead and use the wall. Oftentimes they have build things in the walls, space in the walls for you to hang things on, for you to store things in, for you to put weight on. So there's a chazak, or there's a person's allowed to go ahead and use it up until the Ramos of Kaisel. and the width of the wall. In a place where they did have a betarfeitz afdani lo, but I can't go ahead and basically do it by the front, which is like towards the lobby area, because that a person's no chazaka, that person allowed to go ahead and use that space. Rav Nachman didei Omar afilu betarfeitz afdani, even the opening to the the open space or to the lobby, one's allowed to go ahead and do it. But not you can go ahead and use for your own purposes the large yard behind the houses. Even the large area behind the houses. And a person, let's say he wants to put up a beam. So I put up a beam on someone's property, right, for shade. So up until 30 days, it's not a chazaka that you gave permission to go ahead and use it. However, but if let's say the beam is up there for longer than 30 days, have a chazaka, it's a chazaka that you allow me to do it, and therefore I can go ahead and do it, down the road. The sukkah, but let's say you allowed me to go ahead and build your sukkah there. The mitzvah, which is an obligation, is a mitzvah. So ad shiva yami, you have 7 days to take it off. In other words, when it comes to a shed, so you're using a person who uses a shed up to 30 days is something temporary. But a sukkah, you only use it during sukkahs. So when the sukkahs is over, it should really be taken down. So you only have ad shiva yamin, 7 days. If the sukkah is up there more than 7 days, ad shiva yamin chazaka. But Shiva, but if you see that the sukkah is there even 7 days after the holiday, then Havi Chazaka. Why else is the sukkah there? He's not using it for shade. He used it for the mitzvah. He had 7 days to take it down. He didn't take it down. It must be the guy was ultimately that he was given reshus to put it there. Therefore, if he wants to build it at any time, he can't be stopped by the neighbor because he already has a chazaka. But if he went ahead and he attached it with some sort of cement or concrete, then immediately he doesn't need more zman. That is considered to be a chazaka. And so you have 2 houses facing each other on a street, and there's a shus harabim in between them. So now, picture this: you got 2 houses. On top of 2 houses are 2 roofs. Okay, now the roofs face each other. So if I'm over there nude sunbathing my roof, and you're on your roof, we can see each other. So what did he do? One guy is obligated to build a fence on the 55% that is from the north going south, and the other guy does 55% from the south going north. In other words, they overlap a little bit, right? But each one, basically, you can't have one fence because the street's in the middle, right? They can't attach. So you can't say, okay, you build a fence or you build a fence. Therefore, they're both each building a fence, like 50-50, but not 50-50, because then you don't have as much privacy. So they extended a little bit. So this way, just like when you're
they're building the fence across the.
No.
I don't get it.
There's a street in between, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I'm on the roof and you're on your roof, we can see each other.
Right.
I want my privacy.
Right.
I tell Eddie, put up your fence. You say, yo, you put up a fence. I say, no.
So I only have to put up.
So you put up half
fence.
or a little more. You put up 51 on this side, and I put up 51 on this side. They're not matched, but therefore
You can't see.
you can't see, because if you're on the north side, then you have your fence. You're on the south side, and it's my fence. So therefore, you can't see across. Right? Unless you can, of course, you can see diagonal. But if you want privacy, very easily blockable.
Is it a thoroughfare or no?
But it's underneath. It has nothing to do with anything up there. We're talking about using of the God. Now,
At the Cub Stadium.
right, like that. Rooftops. So, each one does a fence up there. So my area, Rishus Harabim. Why do you have a Rishus Harabim in the bottom? Who cares? I feel Rishus Yakin. Let's just say there's nothing in between. Say it's an alleyway or something. Why do you have the Rishus Harabim? I feel Rishus Yakin Nami. So the Gemara says no. Rishus Harabim strictly. Mazel Bo just said name alay. Saif Hobbies Stunei me, but Rishus Harabim. In other words, I could have said to you, Eddie, what are you forcing me to put a fence on half my thing? You want privacy. You have all the people walking down there. They're going to see you up there. So you need your fence for your own purposes, right? Maybe you can't force me to put up a fence. You want privacy, put up your fence, right? I don't sunbathe in the nude, right? You want to do it, you do it.
Yeah.
So Kamash Malon, Damarle, the Eddie can respond to me. Rabim, the Rabbim. So they're only there during the day. They're not there at night. In the night they don't see me. However, but you're on your roof, Ben Yamama Ben Belila. You can see them day or night. The Chazizli. Inam your Rabbi Kikemina Chazili. Yasino Le Chazi. The Rabbi, when I'm standing up, they can see me. But if I'm sitting down, they can't see me because I'm too high up. Le Chazi. However, you Yoel my neighbor chazli right? You can see me whether I'm standing or sitting. And Rabim also if they try to see me, they're looking up, then they can see me. But if they're not making an effort to see me, they're just looking straight. They don't see me up there. However,
You're right.
but you can see me at any times you're up there without any effort. So therefore, that Kamash Milan, that I can't say, hey, the rabbin will see you, you build your own fence. No, you have to put up half and I have to put up half. Each one puts a fence up there and their half. So it says Pshita. So it says light the Kadim Chaminayu. The oven. Maybe like this. Maybe what's the chiddush over here? Maybe Eddie goes ahead and builds half the fence. So Malzeh Bodrim said, "Name Idach Shakol Uzinka. The Avdi that's Kool-Aid. Maybe I can tell Eddie, how much was the fence? $100. So I'll give you another $100, and you just finish the fence on your roof, and therefore you have it, right? What do you want from me? Why should I put up, the fence, the mica, on mine? Kamash Milan comes to the at my time of the Bishum the Yisraeli Shitachot Sananami Misere Le Ishtai. In other words, why didn't you Yoa build a fence? Because you didn't want to, ruin your roof, your walls. You put extra weight on it. So I also don't want the full weight of it. So therefore, I built half because that was fair. So you have to go ahead and build half. I'm not taking your $100 and building the other half of mine. It weakens my walls. Therefore, you have to go ahead and build it on yours. So second wide line. Now, we have to remember like this. A roof is not frequently used, right? A chutzner is. So therefore, a person can go ahead and discriminately use his roof at 5 times. A yard is always being used. So therefore, so that's something to remember. So let's see. So let's say you have a roof, all right, and it's close to a chutzner. So Avrami has a roof. It's next to Randy's yard. The Mr. Gag, that would be Avrami, he has to go ahead and build a wall of Dalet Amos, right? And what is Dalet Amos? Remember, Dalet is like a Makim, but actually it's like 10 tefachim. But a Dalet Amos is 6 feet. Why is that? So you can't see, right? Privacy, Hezekriya. So Avrami on the Gag could see the chutzner because the chutzner, Mayor Randy's chutzner is always being used. So therefore, Avrami has to go ahead and put up a Maka Gavod Dalet Amos. About Ben Gag, Legag, but let's say they had the roofs facing each other. Low, then you don't have to necessarily go ahead and use it. Rav Nachman Didei, Omar Ein Zakot, the Dalet Amos. You don't have to do Dalet Amos, but Zakot the Mechitza. So you have to do a Mechitza of 10 tefachim. So Lamai, why 10 tefachim? Right? If they're next to one another, why do you have to do it? Why do you have to do a Mechitza of 10? Lamai, if it's for Hezekriya, Arba Amos, you need 10, you need 4 Amos, not 10 tefachim. 10 tefachim is only a couple feet, right? So why? So Arba Amos is Hezekriya, but it says over there 2 roofs next to each other, like a townhouse, right? Put a fence. Only 10 tefachim. So what's 10 tefachim do, right? If it's for Hezekriya, that's Dalet Amos, right? Is it? Yeah, I was playing. Even the Yifaslav Kaganev, if you want to say, hey, for a Ganav to know that he's officially trespassing, so you just need a little thing, a little sign that you're trespassing. And either Kedima to line, let's say it's for sheep or something that it's a green roof and you got sheep up there, whatever. So that's only for them because their heads are down when they're going. As long as you have something 3 tefachim, then they won't go past it because their head is down. So the rest of the other the Nidfas Kaganev rules the 10 tefachim to stop a Ganav. The Mavi is Matzile, and that which is Mavi is Mavi, right? So you say over there, so you say over there, in that case, why can't you just use a regular border? So you can say over there, right? So he says that oh no, I went to go ahead and retrieve something or to get something. So therefore, right, if it was just a marker, then okay, maybe indeed it's not true. But once he's crossing over something which is 10 tefachim, then he knows he's trespassing, and then he knows he's not supposed to be there, and then you can go ahead and I guess
that's
claim
a
it's a Ganav.
where there are 2 houses right next to
townhouses, right next to each other, right? Right, exactly. So Meis today, now let's say this: you have the chutzner, right? Which is always used. So you have a yard, and I guess it's built on a mountain, and you have a roof, which is not used as much, below the chutzner. So chutzner is commonly used, and the gag is not. You have the chutzner higher than the gag.
But they're the same.
It's
level.
lamala, right? Ima chutzner lamala migago shel chavera ein nizkakin lo. Then you don't force the person with the chutzner to go ahead and build a wall to prevent him from seeing onto the gag, because like we said earlier, the gag is infrequently used. So my lav ain't talking like cloud. We don't make him do it at all, and therefore, what happened to this artvachim? The Gemara says, "Lo, ain't talking the daldamas." No, we don't force him to the daldamas. So I'm talking the mechitzas. We force him to go ahead and put a tvachim once again for ganach. And Itamar, shtei chatzeres olamal mizu. Let's say you have two chatzeres. One is higher than the other. The Amar, so Amar Rav Huna, Tachtain Baina Mekinagdo, Vaila, Vaila, Valia Baina Kinagdo, Vaila. Now, two chatzeres, they have Hezekiah. So you need a fence in between the two. But first what you have to do is one's higher than the other, you have to build the bottom fence up, let's say 5 feet, and then from the 5 feet, then you do daldamas. Okay? So who's responsible to pay for that 5 feet? Is it the guy in the bottom to get his fence up to the ground level of the other chutzner, and then the two of them together build Daled Amos? So says the first shita. He starts from the bottom and he pays he is responsible for everything all the way up to the top. The Elyon, he's only responsible to pay for his level and there. So therefore he's not responsible for anything below. And for Rav Chizda Omar, Elyon Messiah Milamat. Right, but Rav Chizda says the top guy is also responsible, because since ultimately he needs that fence to be raised in order to get the Daled Amos, and he benefits, therefore he also has to contribute 50-50 that lower fence. And Tani Kavas said, Rav Chizda, we have a price in support of this last sheet of Rav Chizda, Shtei Chatzeres, Olam Mizu. You have two chatzeres, one higher than the other. Lo Yamar Elyon Areini Baina Mekinegdi Vaila. The top floor, the higher guy, the guy with the higher yard, can't say to his friend, "Hey, I'm only going to go ahead and build this amount." Ela Masai Mata. Rather, he has to go ahead and help the guy. So the Mata Ubaya. You might say Chatzer Lamala Migago Shacher, but however, there's a Chatzer higher than the gag of his friend, which is infrequently used. He doesn't have to go ahead and help. Why? Because the gag is something that is infrequently used. Let's just set this next case, and it goes into tomorrow because I saw tomorrow's a little longer. This says Hanu Beit Shrei the Havi Dari. All right, so it's two people, I guess two brothers. They inherited a house from their father. So Havi Dari Chad Havi Dari Aloi the Chad Havi Dari Tazai. One was the bottom, it was a two-flat. One was the bottom, one was the top. These were Tazai. All of a sudden started caving in. And everything started to sink lower and lower. So let's go ahead. Let's tear down this building because my second floor is sinking. Because the first floor guy is saying, "Hey, you're sinking down into me. My ceilings are getting lower. Let's go ahead, tear this down, and we'll build up something new." Amarle on the Shabir Kadarina. What are you talking about? The upstairs neighbor says, "Okay, I used to have to climb up to 10 feet. Now I only have to climb up to 8 feet because it's sinking, right? So the upstairs is fine. I'm not bothered by it." So Amarle, turn the page. So you start on up. He says, "You know what? You start on Avner. The Lord, I'll pay for it all. Right? I can't live like this. I can't live with it sinking in my basement level, getting lower and lower." So Amar, sorry.
The second guy to do it, he doesn't want to. I'm fine.
So Amar, lastly, let's say I got nowhere to live. What do you want me to do? So Amar, I'll go ahead and rent you a place. So Amar, right? I don't want to, like you're saying, Alan, right? I don't want. Why bother me? But I can't live in my house as the bottom guy. So he says, okay, you can't live in the bottom floor. Okay, so lower your head when you go in. So what's the luck in this case? The upstairs neighbor had a right to go ahead and be ma'akev. However, that's only if the beams didn't get below 10 tefachim. However, once it came below 10 tefachim for the downstairs guy, which is like 3 feet, right? Then the bottom guy can say, "Hey, within 10 tefachim of the ground, because it sank so much, it's 8 tefachim down. Now you're interfering in my 10 tefachim space because I'm the first floor unit. So now your second floor is now within the airspace of my first unit because you're within 10 tefachim. Therefore, I have a right to force you out to go ahead and rebuild it. But it's only when they didn't make a condition that if it was sink, we would rebuild it. But if they did make a condition, hey, when we move it to this two flat, if it starts to sink a little bit, then we have to rebuild it. I can force you to rebuild it. If they make a condition, then you can force them to go ahead and rebuild it. I think that was the Meiser. That was nice. Yeah, Hanu Beit Trade. It happened to be. There was a nice. All right.